Hey guys, it's Dave, and today we are bringing you a new series on Jack's Chrome. We've talked a lot about the trucks, people, and even the places around the trucking industry. But we have not yet covered the companies that make up this industry at all. In this new series, we're going to highlight some of the most influential trucking companies ever. Today we are talking about the company that seems to be the butt of every joke nowadays, Swift Transportation. Let's get started. Carl Moyes, a truck driver running produce throughout the northern Utah region for C.R. England in the 1940s, is the man behind it all. After driving for C.R. England, he and his wife started a small trucking company in Plain City, Utah. After their son Jerry graduated from the local Weber State University, Carl and Betty moved their small trucking company down south to Phoenix, Arizona. Carl and his two sons, Ronald and Jerry, formed the company Common Market, which would eventually turn into Swift Transportation. Operations of the company began in 1966. Carl and his sons hauled steel from the ports of Los Angeles, California to Phoenix and returned with cotton from Arizona. The company's name, which was later changed when Common Market purchased the name Swift Transportation from a descendant of the Swift meat packing family. The Moyes family bought the trucking assets of Swift & Company, and with a fourth non-family partner, Randy Knight, grew the business to $25 million in annual revenue by 1984. The next year, Jerry Moyes, Carl's son, would become president, chairman, and CEO of Swift Transportation. In a crazy turn for the company, their founder, Carl Moyes, passed away in 1985, and Jerry would buy out his brother, Ronald, and the fourth business partner, Randy Knight. Randy Knight would go on later to co-found Knight Transportation, which we will cover further in another video. After the dust had settled from the 1985 reorganization of the company, in 1988, Swift purchased Greenville, South Carolina company Cooper Motor Lines. This was a huge addition to the company and pushed Swift to a whopping $125 million in revenue by 1990. Because of their great success, the Moyes family decided to bring the Swift company public, and in 1990 they became a publicly traded entity on the NASDAQ with the stock symbol SWFT. With the money raised from the initial public offering, Swift bought Arthur H. Fulton Inc. for $9 million, just as the company was in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. After this move, the company stagnated for quite a while during the 90s. While the fleet grew, Swift would not purchase or grow significantly for another 10 years until 2001, when Moyes purchased the assets of Dick Simon Trucking, which had also filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Notice that Jerry Moyes himself purchased Dick Simon Trucking and did not include these assets in the General Swift Transportation Company. He would roll Dick Simon Trucking into another smaller operation Jerry ran called Central Freight Lines out of Texas. Central Freight Lines would later be spun off as its own separate entity called Central Refrigerated Service. CFS would remain under Jerry Moyes' ownership until its sale and merger with Swift, which was announced in 2013 and finalized in 2014. Jerry Moyes pocketed $180 million in cash for the sale. This is important because if we jump back to 2005, Moyes retired from Swift Transportation as CEO after a United States Securities and Exchange investigation into insider trading. Jerry did not admit or deny the allegations, but paid a $1.26 million settlement. Even after his retirement, Jerry Moyes and his family controlled 39% of the public stock in Swift Transportation. Only 13 months after his retirement from the company, in November of 2006, Jerry Moyes offered to buy Swift for $29 a share. This would bring the company off the public market and once again into the ownership of the Moyes family. Later, the Moyes family upped their offer to $2.4 billion or $31.55 a share for shares not controlled by the family and the assumption of $332 million in outstanding debt. The offer was accepted and the transaction occurred on May 10, 2007. The company's drivers and a large majority of the existing shareholders supported the buyout of the company. Though Swift Transportation was back in the hands of the Moyes, it was about to hit more rocky ground. The 2008 recession forced Swift back off their 40-terminal network, and they were forced to lay off over 4,000 employees. After recovering from the economic slump, the company operated 16,200 units, 12,300 company trucks, and 3,900 owner-operator tractors, a fleet of nearly 48,600 trailers, and 4,500 intermodal containers from 35 terminals in the United States and Mexico. Swift's revenue just 1 year after the recession hit was $2.5 billion at the end of 2009. After only 3 years of being privately owned by the Moyes family, the company became public again on December 16, 2010 and traded on the New York Stock Exchange. The company offered 73,300,000 shares at $11 a share and raised almost $766 million, most of which was used for debt reduction. Randy Knight and his company Knight Transportation, mentioned earlier, would come back into the Swift story in 2017 when Swift Transportation and Knight Transportation merged. The merge would create the largest common carrier in the United States. With over 23,000 trucks, Knight Swift carries more freight across the country than any other carrier. Knight Swift is now currently headed by Randy Knight's family Kevin and Gary Knight, who also worked for Swift Transportation before the split in 1985. That brings you up to date for the history of Swift Transportation. We hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions for carriers we should cover in this new series, let us know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching our new series. Before you leave, make sure you like the video, check out the other videos on our channel, and subscribe. We have finally reached our goal of 40K subscribers, so thank you all so much for your support for the show. Next stop, 50K. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything else you'd like to talk about, please be sure to tune into our live podcast, The Chrome Corner, Wednesdays at noon p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and discuss all things Chrome with me, your host, Dave Coleman. Be sure to buy your big rig the best Chrome for your home. Purchase boot brushes, metal polish, and LED lights 10% off on our website, www.jackschromeshop.com. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next video, and remember, if your rig don't shine, you don't know Jack.